All right, first video, we're going to take a look at how to find the area between curves, right? So this one is more of a calculator active question, right? I've put the graph on here. You can see our two curves. And so first and foremost, we need to find where they intersect, right? And so we actually have two regions here where they intersect. We have this really small region right here, and then we have this other one right there, right? And what's important is that there's a crossover, right? What we know is the top curve versus the bottom curve switches, and so we have to account for that. So this question says, write, but don't evaluate, an integral expression that we can use to find the area bounded by those two curves, right? Cosine of 2x and 1 minus x. So the first area, let's kind of like draw an arrow right here, right? The first area, what's important, right? Well, what's important is we start with, well, where does the region begin and where does it end? So we begin at 0. And then that first intersection point is 0.55457. And you'll notice I didn't round that because I'm not going to round until the very end, right? But now the most important piece is which curve is on top. And so in this first region, it's the cosine curve that's on top. So that one has to go first. So we're going to go cosine of 2x, right? And then we're going to take away the bottom curve, which happens to be 1 minus x. So let's quantify that, dx. Okay, so there's your first region. What we have to do to get the other regions, we have to add that, right, to what we already have. But now the intersection points change a little bit, right? So we pick up where we left off. So 0.55457. And then we go to 1.84908, all right? And again, take a look, right? So the two most important things when we do area are where do the curves intersect? And number two, which curve is the top curve? Which one is the bottom curve? So I can see the switch here now. I see the line is the top curve, so that has to go first, and cosine 2x has to go second. And so there you go. That would be how I get the area of those two regions combined. One quick note just to finish up. Let's suppose that you did not have a calculator and you needed to figure out which curve was on top, which one was on the bottom, right? First, find the intersection points, right? So right? And then to find top versus bottom, my recommendation would be to just pick a number in between the intersection points and substitute it into each equation. Whichever one has the higher y value has to be the top curve, right? So in a case like this, where, again, if I didn't have the visual, if I knew I was going between 0.55 and 1.84, I would just pick 1. And I would go in there and do cosine of, 2 times 1 versus 1 minus 1, and that would hopefully help me out. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck.